What's up, everyone? We are live for the last Wednesday edition of Spin from the Reel. Once again, I am Matt, and joining me as always. Wow, I'm tired. Joining me as always is Chris Anthony Lopez.
Yo, I don't know who else you host this show with, but if you're cheating on me already, we haven't even been doing this for a year now. Come on, dude. I know we got guests. We've had guests the last few weeks. You're already looking to scout replacements for me, trying to kick me off the show. Come on now, and you teased on LGR this past Friday that you were gonna go join them because screw me, right? Like I was there too. Like I was right there, and you're like, oh, like I'm joining LGR. Which, by the way, thank you to everybody at LGR for letting us come on last Friday. It was a lot of fun. But damn, dude, you already replacing me? I'm getting the boot?
Nah, nothing
I gotta
like
get the
that.
boot?
Nothing like that.
Big ouch. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Nope.
All right. Well, before we get into the meat and bones of what happened last Friday and what's going to happen this Friday, we got one last rookie guest that we're bringing on here.
One last one. Hell yeah.
And that would be gold leader himself, Evan Bushkar.
Oh, sorry. I'm too busy studying. Let me put this away.
Evan, man. What's going on, Evan? You good, bro?
I am great. I am ready. I'm here, and I'm not amused. No, I'm amused.
I mean, I hope if anyone could take anything away from this show, I just hope they were amused in any way, shape, or form. So thank you for coming on, for saying you're amused, although we've only been live for 2 minutes. Anything could change in the next however so long you're here.
I can hate you both by the end of this. Who knows?
Odds are you will. So
yeah, that's good. Okay, cool. I accept it.
So, Evan, man, first of all, congratulations on making the initial draft list. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you.
I feel like I saw every interview with this. How did you come in contact with the Schmodown? Like, did you find it? Did it find you? Like, what's the deal?
I've been wanting to. I've been watching it for years, just because I love Star Wars trivia. So I came across it like probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. And I saw the Star Wars Schmodown events. And so I started watching those all the way back then. And then, I've been desperately like emailing people from the Schmodown for like the last few months. And then I was like, I don't know, you guys probably get this a lot, but can I join? What can I do? And then they were just like, oh, there's a draft now. You can do this. And so I was like, all right, great. I'm going to do it. So here I am.
Now, Evan, your audition tapes were just hilarious. You were just like, I give zero fucks. I'm just going after everyone. I don't care. And you went especially hard after Alex Damon.
It's true. I'm ready for blood. I'm ready for blood, man. That's what I want. That's what I came here for. I'm not joking. I'm not messing around here.
You just have like the farthest thing from this tough guy, hard guy personality, because you just got this goofiness to you that's just awesome, and I couldn't help but laugh along, like enjoy, not laughing at you, laugh, right. Just
laugh at me too. I don't care.
Watching those promos.
No, thank you. I like to have a terrifying joy about me. I like to have a smile that does a little more than make people happy, I guess is what I'll say. I like to be deadly.
Nah, and I mean, like the audition tape, because I didn't know, it's hard to distinguish, especially with all these Star Wars players coming in, if they watched the Schmodown before, or really anyone coming in, if they had seen it before, if they were reached out, or if they were reached out to, So the fact that you were just only watching the Star Wars stuff, right? At least from what I gather from what you just said.
For the most part, I've watched like 1 or 2 of the other matches. Mostly, like it's more like 5 or 6 of the other matches. But mostly I've watched like every Star Wars match, so multiple times even. So
you're just like, did it start off as like can I keep up, or did you enjoy it as a fan first though?
I'm always looking for that challenge, so I'm always trying to like. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm going to see how I would do in this. And I noticed I was getting a lot of them right. So I was like, let's see how this goes. and it's definitely gotten harder over the years, but I'm still keeping up. So I can enjoy it as a fan while also it's a healthy challenge for me.
No, and we talk about the Star Wars division on the show a lot, solely because, I mean, not only are we a Showdown show, but the Star Wars division, we've said it multiple times, it's the most challenging and it's the most cutthroat of all the divisions because of the material and how tight it is. It's only those few movies. It's not like the regular singles division where it's literally everything ever. It's just the Star Wars films and that's it. And usually when people come into this league, they have this great affinity for Star Wars, and they like their origin takes them back to when I was a kid. I watched it at the theater with my dad or my mom, or I watched the VHS. So where did that start for you? Like, what's your villain origin story? I'm curious.
My origin story. So I am a lifelong fan. I remember, I grew up. There's not a time that I remember before Star Wars. I was born before the prequels came out, and so I kind of grew up with those. But I had a healthy exposure to the originals as well on tape before that. But I remember there's even a video of this on my Facebook. I can prove this. There is actually I was about a year old. I'm gonna say how young I am here. It was December of 1997. I was a year old, and there was a Darth Vader coin bank that I got for Christmas, and it played the Imperial March, and so they played that, and you could see it in my eyes. I'm like mesmerized, and I started like bobbing back and forth like maniacally or in some kind of menacing way.
This truly is a villain origin story.
Yeah, it's true. I was always called to the dark, man. That's what it's always been. Always. Yeah.
So the Schmodown stuff came later, and now you like in your audition tapes, you're no stranger to Star Wars competition.
No.
You were apparently you were competing in things online across the country, just to flex your muscles a little bit. And you're out here placing first in different competitions. It's not like it's the same one over and over and over again. Because like we see a lot of folks, and we've interviewed some people that like they're known for like the Dragon Con stuff. Like the Dragon Con, that's like that was the epitome of Star Wars trivia before the Schmodown showed up.
Sure.
So like how's that? Where'd you start doing that at? Did you start doing it at a younger age? Because obviously, like, I mean, you just dated yourself, but like we're all around the same age, surprisingly. Right. So like, when did you start doing that? And I'm trying to picture myself. Was I 15 and like just doing nothing, and Evan was over there 16, and he was competing in Star Wars trivia in his room?
It's so my start with the trivia stuff. I got this book. It was like a 2,500 fact book, and it was multiple choice format, like 2,500 questions. Like, what do you know about Star Wars? It's mostly from like legends and stuff, but I gravitated toward that book. This was about when I was 13 or 14. But I didn't start doing competitions until I was like in my I started being in my 20s. It was like 21, I guess, when I did my first like bar Star Wars trivia, and we cleaned house. It was great. And
damn.
So we did that, and then since the all the stuff that's been going on in the last year, where we're all confined to our own spaces, I just looked up events online. Like I looked up events on Facebook, like live Star Wars trivia, and I found like 20 different events, all of them having like cash prizes, and I'm like, I don't make much money right now, so maybe this could supplement my income.
Yeah,
and it certainly has. I bought these books. I bought this book with Amazon cards, so I'm doing pretty well. I've won a decent amount of these things, and I intend to keep doing that.
Hey, I can't blame you for that, because my income supplements my Star Wars habit too. So trust me,
That's good.
I get it. I mean, look at the ignore the figures.
The whole thing. Oh, you got the Gideon. Nice. I love the Moff Gideon.
Yeah, so trust me, I definitely understand. Why not use some of this knowledge to make a few bucks and then supplement my addictions to Star Wars?
If I could prove my worth, make a few bucks, and make other people hurt, all in the span of like a couple hours, that's all I want, man. That's all it is.
I didn't make a couple
man's
people
trying to make
hurt.
people
Did
hurt.
not expect that.
I'm more vicious than people realize.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad you used the word vicious before I could have. So I mean, we talked about those videos, and honestly, the people that have been catching my eye in regards to the folks on the draft list that weren't already competing or that don't have this big internet following behind them are the folks that have a big social media presence. We've had a few of them on our show already. We've talked to a few of them outside of From the Real, sort of. But with you you just took this no nonsense approach to it, and I mean you've obviously seen the competition in the Schmodown. No one's like that in Star Wars. At least not for a very long time do we have someone I was like, I'm gonna come in here and talk my shit. Like no one's done that in that division. So was that why you chose to do it, or is that just you and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna be me but try to be in the Schmodown at the same time? So how was that thought process before you started filming that first audition tape?
It started because I remember the instructions. The instructions for the audition was like, all right, you got to make this, you got to like say why you'd be good in the Schmodown, and you have to cut a promo against one of the current contenders. And I was like, why not just go right to the top? Why not just give in to the anger that I've held on to for years and just like go all out? Because I'm a video editor, like professionally. That's like what I do. Yeah. So I was like, I know that I could cut something pretty kick-ass here. And so I started messing around with a lot of stuff, you know, just filming stuff in this room, just kind of, you know, messing around. And I just felt myself being drawn more to that angry kind of presence. I always envisioned that I would be like the Joseph Scrimshaw type. Like he's the Jedi. He's peaceful and he's nice and great. And I always thought that's where I'd end up, but not exactly. I haven't felt that in a long time. So yeah, it started right from the get-go. Right when I started recording these, I was just like, let's go all in, and I have at least a little bit, but maybe later that could be tuned up a bit. Well, we'll see. So
I mean, you mentioned that. Oh, go ahead, Matt, please.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned in your first video that you met Alex.
Yeah.
So talking about going straight to the top, you've interacted with the top, and where the ceiling has been for Star Wars for years now, because that division's been spearheaded by Alex Damon for a few seasons now, to put it lightly. And like, are you a fan of his? Were you a fan of his before all the Schmodown stuff got off the ground?
I respect his work. I don't respect this man at all. No, I'm just messing around. No, I love Alex. I love Alex on a personal level. He's great. I don't know. That makes me sound like I know him and I'm interacting with him all the time. I don't know him like at all. I've met him.
You said
I was at a fan. Yeah, I do.
His best friend.
He's literally. I know. Me and the Dragon Con people. We all live within like 10 minutes of each other apparently. So I'm in this little nest of Star Wars trivia knowledge.
So there's just something in the water over there then.
No, so I met Alex. It was like a fan meetup at the first celebration that I went to in 2017 in Orlando. And then I was there at one of the live events that he did. He played Joseph Scrimshaw live in Chicago. And I was in the audience there. I didn't mention that in the promo because I thought it would be too much, but if I had fun with you. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Nice. Cool. That's great. That was a good match.
It was.
But yeah, I have a storied history with him, I guess you could say, but not really.
Yeah, you're no stranger to Alex Damon, and like you don't respect him. Like fuck him, you know. No, but like we love Alex over here. Obviously, it's hard to not like Alex. And like all these competitors that are coming in, because obviously you want to go straight to the top, because Alex has been in the Star Wars division, and this new crop of people, yourself included, are coming in like a ball of fire. And I think that you're just bringing this separate energy that not too many other people are, regardless of the division. They don't even have to be playing Star Wars, you know. A lot of people's claim to fame are the fan leagues. A lot of people's claim to fame are their film knowledge in their brain. But it's hard to find like those multi threats that like not only can I be good at trivia, but I'm also a kick-ass promo. And I don't know if you're a wrestling guy at all, but like like this. I thought to myself, like, this man is bringing this different type of energy
Right.
that I've barely seen in other things. Obviously, there are other people that are also bringing it promo wise, but you're just bringing this whole different energy that no one else, at least in Star Wars that I've seen,
Sure.
has been able to bring.
Right. I think and I've seen some some character work with, like I said, with Joseph and with Laura Kelly. I've seen some character work in the Star Wars division for a while. I think I really would like for it to be as intense as it is in the main league.
I can agree. It's definitely lacking there, and it seems like that's something based off of watching your stuff that you can bring.
Yeah, right. I want to be. I compared it to because Alex's whole thing. He wears that Han Solo jacket, and he walks up to the Solo trailer music at these matches, and I would love to be the guy that the reason people. I'm a guy. I love Kylo Ren. You can't see it. I have a statue of him back there. The reason people immediately turned on Kylo Ren is in the first movie he murders Han Solo. And I want to be the guy to publicly kill the hero. And I want to take That's what I want. That's all I want.
Yeah. See, and that's what I like to hear. Damn, that's what we want to hear. We need more people like you in the Schmodown, especially in Star Wars. Because like you said, like Scrimshaw's definitely brought that character work. Laura Kelly made her name this past season off of her character work solely. So like you already know what you're doing, you just gotta get there. True. I mean, might as well just start talking about you actually getting there, right? And you just in your experience, what you've talked about, what you've seen in the Schmodown. So what are your thoughts on the Star Wars division sans Alex? Like you've been watching for years now, so you get it, you know what's up. You've watched all these matches probably more than I have. So what are your thoughts on the Star Wars division as a whole, sans Alex Damon?
I think there is a lot of talent there. I think there is, because it's one, like you said, it's definitely. I wouldn't say it is just from my own experience, but I get why it's like it is the most laser focused division. I wouldn't call it the most difficult, but I would call it the most hyper focused. Like you have to know every little detail.
Yeah, sure.
And that's even the case without Alex. Like all of these people, they know some stuff that I did not fully know until I started watching these matches. Like things I didn't know to look for. All these code clearances and all these color squadrons and everything. Like but the Schmodown is full of intense Star Wars knowledge and great people. But I think we need more characters. That's what I'll say on that too. But yeah, so I'll watch the Star Wars division, for the rest of my life as long as it exists. It's just a good show. But I want blood. I want there to be blood on the floor in that studio.
I respect that so much, man. I really do. Like so far, from what I've seen out of all the Star Wars players, I haven't really had a chance to see anything that the people from the Resistance broadcast are playing.
Sure.
You're putting how you're presenting yourself is right up there with Dragon Con players. You don't have the title that I beat Alex Damon,
right?
But you have the title of these. Yeah, you have the title of these four are the only two I haven't had, or the only ones I haven't had a chance to play, and I know I can keep up.
Sure, it's I think the issue I'm having is that I'm not trying to make excuses here because I think I should be able to make my way for. I have as good a chance as anybody, but it's basically like I've had to rush all these promos and things into like the last week, so I feel like nobody still knows who I am. This is me trying to change that here. I want to make some kind of name for myself. Some of my most recent promo caught a little bit of heat in the Facebook group, which I really enjoy. So I'm trying to make
heat in the Facebook group. Why?
Yeah. Oh no, I posted it there, and it was like it wasn't bad heat. It was good heat. I did get Christian told me to not cuss as much, but that's fair. But everyone else was bringing good heat. They were all very positive and very receptive. I think I saw somebody say that I would be like, I'm the sleeper hit of the draft. And I think that's definitely how I'm feeling. Like people may not know who I am, but damn, they will. They really will.
No, see, and the fact that like you're getting so much love in the Facebook group, and that's a great way to test the waters. Not
Sure.
everyone has done that. Posted a little video in the Facebook group to get their face out there, get their name out there, or come on shows like this. And I know you're no stranger to doing after shows,
Yeah.
but like the Schmodown, especially Star Wars, and when I say it's the most difficult, it's maybe not the most like it is the most laser focused, but at the same time, like it's like the pool has been so small, and until this season, this upcoming season, where the roster will, how everyone's predicting, will double going forward. Like just looking at all your fellow Japanese, Taylor in the chat, the regent of Rick Radis, he wants to go ahead and ask, how does Evan feel about his fellow Star Wars rookies? Because it is going to be stacked. It's going to be a hard season because now not only do you have the existing competition, but how do you feel about not only who's there already, but who's coming in with you if you guys do make it?
I will say I'm developing a bit of a rivalry with one of them. I actually just now I'm finishing it today. I'm cutting a promo against one of them right now. Zach Burkett is doomed.
Whoa.
Zach Burkett is doomed.
I'm probably
Friend
the
of the
biggest
show,
Zach
Zach
Burkett. I'm probably the biggest Burkett fan here right now. So I gotta ask why.
Because he's I just don't. He's a threat. He's the only one of these people that I could see as being a real threat, and I want to take him down. I want to be the one.
So you don't even consider Thomas Harper a threat?
Oh, I haven't played Thomas yet. I haven't.
Oh, so you played Zach before?
You played Zach before.
I will say, speculation aside. Well, I'll go into what I can talk about. I think Zach really knows his stuff. But that being said, he is the face to my heel, and I want there to be this real bitterness. We're like in this. He lives here too. He's one of the Decatur people, like the Atlanta people, and I want that kind of tumultuous relationship to bloom. And he was talking trash on one of my promos recently, and it lit a fire in me. It lit some kind of deep fire in me, and now he doesn't know what he's in for. He doesn't know at all.
Oh shit! Because I mean, like both y'all friends of the show, I don't want to freaking put all my eggs in someone's basket. But what I will say about the both of y'all is, like, I love the character stuff. I know we've been driving that point in for the last 20 minutes, but it honestly is so crucial to me. Like, and Matt and I we view the Schmodown in different ways. Like Matt's, he likes the gameplay more so than the characters, not in the inverse. Yeah. I love, and we both love both aspects, but the characters to me are what gets me through the Schmodown. When my favorite player doesn't win, I still love their character for whatever reason. So in Star Wars, since I've been lacking that in the Star Wars division the last few years until we got Scrimshaw really developing, especially Laura Kelly. Like I cannot emphasize that enough. But like with people like you potentially going in, people like Zach potentially going in, like that makes me happy because y'all are bringing this whole different energy to the division that honestly, like the division's character work and personality, like it could use a jump start. We saw a little bit of that spectacular with Molly and with Laura and with Andrew DiMolanta. But yeah, it's just like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that can be done, and peeps like y'all are really gonna just light a fire under everybody's ass.
Sure.
And I'm excited for that. Hopefully.
The hope. That's the desire.
Yeah. So you talked about Zach Burkett. Y'all got a little beef going on. But what about the players that you've already been watching for seasons now? Whether they still compete or not, because we've seen a lot of shuffling faces. But is there anyone that you're like, like they're good, like they're really good, but I'm a little bit better, or you admire them. You may not even have to be a little heely right now. You can be a little facey and tell us who you just like. Simple as that.
Right. I will say also if people don't know I want people to know how to read me. Any of you people coming into the draft, I know nothing about you yet. You're going down, but I'm not actually assessing your character. But so for these these people that are already in the draft or already in the league, and I've seen them contending, I would say I'd love to go toe to toe with Ace. I love Ace. I thought he was great this season. I also would love a match with Laura Kelly. I think that would be very intense. I don't know. I have this. I feel like that would just be like a great combative match. But yeah, there's no one in the Star Wars Schmodown that I dislike or anything. I don't dislike really any people in the world. So I'm just a big wimp in real life. But yeah, I like Laura Kelly. I like Ace. I like all these guys. I like Alex Damon, even though I hate his guts. But yeah.
Word. See, and I know we're gonna let you go in a bit, but for all the managers that could potentially watching this and are like, it's like, do we want to draft this guy? Like, he cusses too much in this promo. But like, does see, like, how, like, when you usually do these competitions, are they like everything canon? Are they everything Legends and canon? And how is it different from the Schmodown? And how are you going to change your approach between those competitions and the Schmodown?
I generally do the events I do are generally movie specific. The one that I've won the most money with is the movies and Mandalorian, but it's still hyper focused on the movies. So that's kind of my wheelhouse with that. What was the second part of your question beyond that? Beyond like
how is it going to be different between having to go from all those leagues or all those little competitions that you've done coming into the Schmodown, which is a whole different game than anything else that is really on the internet right now?
I think it's I think it is really similar. I think it's that hyper focus on the little details. I think the Schmodown is more focused, and that's what I really want to get into. I want to get into these questions. The biggest satisfaction that I can have is when I'm in a group of trivia contenders and everyone gets the question wrong except for the one person, like in that being me. I love these little detailed questions about something that you could just totally overlook. You could have watched these movies for 20 years and you would never know this little detail. And I like to be the one that knows that detail. So Schmodown allows me to do that comparatively. So that's why I want to get into this. I would not be satisfied doing the leagues that I'm doing forever. I want more of a challenge. And the Schmodown is certainly that for me.
You gotta respect that.
Thank you.
And that's been a trend too, like the challenges, like in the Schmodown being a challenge. Because when we had Marie E. Wilson on last week, that was the one thing she was emphasizing. Like, I want a challenge.
Sure.
And Matt and I, we both like shat ourselves. We're like, oh my God, like she's so nice, but like she's coming with a challenge. And then like you come with the same energy, you're like, oh, like, you know, like I'm here. But I want a challenge, because that's the energy you got to bring, you know. Like you can't just. And I said this on the show before, and Matt and I've talked about this plenty of times. But the Schmodown has evolved so much in its 7 going into 8 seasons, and you can't just like Star Wars and play Star Wars anymore. Like that's not it. Like that's not how you should operate. And someone like you lives, breathes, obviously drinks that water out in Atlanta that just has all the little Star Wars particles in it. And
it's like the Space Jam water.
It's like, that's even a placebo. It's like Michael's special stuff. It's just water.
Right. It's basically that.
Yeah, and it's the Atlanta water, because everyone loves Star Wars out there apparently, and they're all freaking wizards at it. So that's wild.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm ready for the challenge. I want the heat. So this league better be bringing the heat. I would not feel satisfied if I instantly knew every single easy ass question that was asked. I want the challenge. I want, like I said, I want blood. I don't want a clean match. I want something dirty. And that's it.
Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear, brother. Hell yeah.
I got nothing but respect for you after that, man. Hoping for the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I know we have a question in the chat, which I feel like we have to essentially end on this out of pure curiosity. Mm-hmm. But Roy Taylor, the regent of Rick Radis, that you might have seen his name all over the place, he has to know, and we got to know really, what's your favorite Star Wars movie and why? Not the best, because best and favorite are 2 different answers.
Right.
Your favorite.
My favorite is I'm very simple. I'm not everyone's answer is Empire. I'm not Empire. I'm an A New Hope fan. I think that movie is structurally perfect. It has every emotional beat you could ever want. My hot take, though, I think The Last Jedi is one of the best.
No,
That's not a hot take.
I've just encountered so much hatred against that movie. I told people that's a good way to make people dislike me, is to just say I like The Last Jedi in these things. But I like Star Wars movies. Here's what I want. I like Star Wars movies that challenge me and make me think a little deeper about the characters and myself. And if a movie can do that in general, then it's done its job. I don't want Star Wars to just be everything that I want it to be. I want it to be something that pushes me a little farther. And Last Jedi did that. A New Hope did that for like all of cinema. So like it pushed the boundaries, and that's what Star Wars should do. So any Star Wars movie that does that for me is a winner. So that's my answer. I like every Star Wars movie, but a lot of them are different in that way.
Like I was thinking about that last night because last night I rewatched only the third act of Avengers Endgame, and now I promise this will tie back to Star Wars. Yeah. And I was thinking like, this is like, how did this work? Yeah. They made this movie. How was this movie made? And I was thinking like this, like the MCU is real influential. I'm like, who like what else can match that hype? Like Lord of the Rings, Jaws, A New Hope, right? And A New Hope changed the game for everything.
Oh yeah,
like it changed the game, and not even for film, but for like toys and merchandise and how just expanded universe can be told. Like it was mind bending.
And while you mentioned it, Endgame, the last act of that movie is like breathtaking. I love that movie so much, man.
It's also a mess.
Yeah, I've been so emotional about that movie every single time I've watched it.
I love Chris Basic. I don't care for that movie.
That's okay. That's totally. And all opinions are valid on these movies. That's okay.
I guess everyone's entitled to their opinion, but
it's basically. It's definitely a big. It's a lot happening. It's a weird time travel Avengers movie, so I understand it not being your favorite either. So
it's just a mess. I just felt it was a mess personally. It was like they to me it was like, here's a bunch of fan service to hide the mess. And when I first saw it, I'm like, this is great. I watch it again 4 days later. I'm like,
dang, you waited 4 days. I respect.
Well, because my press screening was Monday, and then I couldn't see it until open night.
Yeah.
So anyway, Matt's off the show now. It's just gonna be me.
Yeah. It was just us. We're just gonna talk about Avengers for the next 2 hours.
Yeah,
but
that's cool.
But no. Before I let you go, I at least got to hear your 2 cents, just for me, and out of spite for Matt. What are your thoughts on Rogue One as a movie?
Okay, here's my thing with Rogue One too. I have a few Star Wars hot takes. And I said I don't dislike any Star Wars movie, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think people love that movie so much because of the Vader scene. But I think what's really great about that movie is everything before that. I love the Vader scene like anybody else. I can go nuts in the theater watching that. But everything before that is so. I told somebody yesterday, like
Are you talking about the whole movie before that, or the 30 minutes before that? That's what I got.
I think the whole. I don't. I have some problems with the movie, some like character issues where I think the characters could be a little more fleshed out.
That's my issue with it.
But yeah, I think that for the most part, it hits really great emotional beats. Like there's the part in the cave in Jeddah or on Jeddah when the Death Star is blowing up Jeddah City, all the while Jyn is playing the message from her father. Like that is beautifully intercut. I think that's great. I love my favorite scene in that whole movie is when the Rebel Council denies Jyn the attack plan. Like they say they're not going to go. The odds are too great. And Cassian and a bunch of other rebels step up and say like, we couldn't face ourselves if we stop now. That to me is so much more meaningful than what happens in the last 5 minutes of that movie. And that's my take.
I kind of agree with you. From that point through the rest of the movie is actually what I enjoy. It's
sure.
Everything else in front of it, it's just like
I get that. I totally get that too. It's
Yep. I
over
can
the
agree
place.
with that.
Yeah.
No, and
Well,
it's like those Disney Star Wars, like they're depending on who you ask, they're hit or miss.
Yeah.
And it's what tore the the fan base apart. But again, Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk shade about you.
Yeah, dude. Good luck, dude. 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days.
Thank you. I know. I'll know in 2 days, I guess. I'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you for letting me get my voice out there a little bit. I love the show. It's great.
No problem.
No doubt.
Have a good one, Evan.
Thanks, guys.
We'll chat about it.
And then
I'm
right
gonna
before
back
that,
on Who Are They just to talk Endgame,
Right. Well, but yeah, good luck, Evan, coming from the Regent himself. Got to be excited.
Yeah,
Got to be.
This draft is. I know we're going to talk about what happened this past Friday first, but just to say briefly before we end the show on the draft, it's gonna be really exciting. I'm really excited to watch the draft this year. Like just something about this season 8 is gonna hit different, and to me, it's like at the awards is when it all really kicked off. In regards to season 8, I know we were recapping season 7, all the love and all the things, all the great moments, but like to me, I got excited for the Shmonam again after that month off. I was like, yes, like ooh yeah, like I need this injected into my bloodstream. But this past Friday really did that for a lot of people, ourselves included. I think I could speak for both of us now when I say that.
Despite the yawn.
Like we were so bored at free agency. Nothing of note happened. Nothing.
We weren't talking in our group chat going, "Yo, what the hell? Oh my god!"
There weren't any surprises.
Not at all. Not at all.
Nope.
I mean,
there weren't.
To be fair though, there weren't a lot of surprises.
I think the surprise that we did get, like they overshadowed anything I could have expected. The thing it did overshadow the things I expected.
Two surprises were actually like surprising.
Sure, yeah.
One of them was like yo, what the hell? That's a shock. Mm-hmm. Everyone thought it was a possibility. Granted, when you look back at how things have been going since Spectacular, should have read some tea leaves.
I'm so curious to see what you're talking about because that could be applied to a few different things that happened at the free agency special.
The biggest thing that came out of that is Ben and Bateman are on a team again, and that's what I'm referring to. Who was 1,000%. The first person to tweet out to Dan post Spectacular? Ben Bateman.
Yep.
His tweet, I can't remember off the top of my head. I didn't feel like going through his profile searching for it. It was somewhere along the lines of "Welcome to being one of the most sought after free agents." And look what happens. They end up on the same faction, same squad. Which that to me was a shock in itself because Ben Bateman has talked about wanting to be the guy on a faction, and now you've just settled for being number 2 again.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that because this has been the talking point of the last week, right, over the last few days. Did Ben Bateman sell out? Did he join the man? Did he just completely contradict himself in what he said earlier? And as a fan of Ben Bateman, the both of us, and as a stan of Team Action, I love Team Action, my favorite team, my favorite characters ever in the Schmodown, and Ben Bateman is one of my favorite competitors to watch. But after everything that happened from Spectacular, from when he faced Dan Murrell the second time, all the way until this past Friday, and then I hear him join with Dan Murrell in the dungeon and Robert Parker. Let's not forget Robert Parker. And
Robert Parker, everyone expected Robert Parker to be the new IG player of the dungeon. The dungeon that wasn't a shock to me. And we have the graphic. Let me pull up the graphic. We got all the factions right here. There you go. Emerald, Bateman, and Parker, Jeff Snyder and Draco Damon, Chandru, Paul, and Lon, Mike, Chance, Collins, Roca, Barbarian, JTE. That was another shock we'll get to in a bit. Drew McQueenie, Liz Shannon, Miller, and Ethan Irwin. One of those was definitely a shock. Bibbs, Myers, Smith, Preston, Ben Goddard, and Marisol, who was then traded for the first pick of the second and the last pick of the first. Like, there's a lot to unpack here.
And as I was saying in regards to Ben, and like, did he contradict himself? 1,000%. Like, I can't, like, you can't not say it. And okay, and he covered his own ass when he was being spoken to from Christian at the free agency special, and he said, "Yo, are you going to join the exchange?" He said, "Absolutely." With by the way, if you bought into that, you must not watch pro wrestling. Like, right. it was an ultimate swerve.
I will say Christian was probably the only one. Like, the Christian actually bought into it for a second, because you can see on his face, he's like,
Yeah, like, I mean, I didn't buy into it for a bit. I was actually bothered by how long it went. But that's a whole different thing. But in regards to Bateman joining the dungeon and Kaiser and Parker and Merle, holy shit. But that's not what you're preaching from that last month. Of course you want to win. And of course with Dan Merle, you are going to win. Like, that's, I mean, I don't want to, like I mentioned with Evan on screen, I don't want to put all my eggs in a basket somewhere. But holy shit, if I had to at this moment, right now as we sit, it's hard for me to not go on skybound.com and order my freaking dungeon t-shirt. Like, I am this close. Like, it's in my cart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's honestly something that I was super surprised by. It had been rumored since Spectacular for obvious reasons. And both of these men, arguably the two best players in the Schmodown right now, in their respective divisions, joining up together with another person who's one of the best in the division, with the manager who has all this hype and all this love behind him, and John Kaiser. They're going to be one formidable foursome going into the draft this Friday, and I am stoked. I am so stoked to see the future of the dungeon, 100%. And now they have the first pick too? Oh, come on.
Kaiser honestly walked out in the best position from that draft. That is what you can't argue anything else.
Nope, you can't.
He walked out in the best position. Someone else you can argue walked out in a favorable position was Kate, and that's because she made that trade for Marisol. That trade of Marisol.
Okay, so Paul Preston, Ben Goddard, Marisol McKee were her three locks as of the end of the special, and then on rundown almost immediately.
Like 15 minutes later. 15 minutes later, baby.
It was so quick because I turned the freaking YouTube off because we were going to do some other things with some of our friends from the YouTube.
And then I'm like, hey, Chris, you watching Rundown right now? No. Why?
Yeah, no. Because I was prepping for something else that we were going to do that night. And then, bam, like that happens. And, okay, first of all, before we talk about the trade, I felt bad for Kate. I don't know. I don't know if she just had a bad pitch to competitors, other players, or if she wasn't so lucky talking to other people. But if you pull the graphic back up, like even with Marisol, Ben, and with Paul, right? It's like, how does it stack up to the other threesomes?
I mean, besides the Finstock exchange, we'll get to that in a minute. It doesn't stock up favorably.
No, because like depending on who you ask, like Swag has a better threesome. The Stars, the Dungeon, the Suspects,
the merch
for sure, Corruption. Like and even with the JTE choice in the Finstock exchange, you can argue that they're better than the Den. So it's like, how can you even assess the Den before the trade? It's like they were the most underwhelming of the factions going into the events that happened afterwards, which we'll get to in a bit. But those three as they stood, Marisol, Ben, and Paul Preston, a great team. Like, don't get me wrong. Like those three players are fantastic, and I'm fans of all three. I'm a fan of all three of them, and I cannot wait to see where they go in season 8 and how good they do, because they will do good, especially Paul and Ben. I think they're going to do fantastic this year. But like, how the hell can you stack up to teams led by Shazam, teams led by Corruption and Adam Collins, the singles champion, a threesome like McWeenie, Miller, and Irwin, which again we'll get to McWeenie in a second. I see you, Drew, and these other factions that are also stacked in their three. It's so like what was wrong? I would love to see Kate's conversations with these people. I really would, just so I could see how they went, because I don't understand how like Kate got lost in the shuffle. Like in regards to all the bigger pickups. I thought she'd get at least. I thought honestly that she'd get Ben. I really did think so. As the special went on before he announced the dungeon, I'm like, is Ben going to the den? And like I was about to like pop like a madman. Let me translate that for everybody. I was about to get awfully excited and be audible about it because I love Ben Bateman and I love what Kate's been doing since Spectacular. And then we saw what happened. So like her three to start was probably the weakest of the bunch, and that's saying a lot because it's a team led by Paul Preston, Ben Goddard, and Marisol McKee. That says a lot to the rest of the other factions.
I know it was like you and I were talking. It's like, and Christian made a valid point because he hopped on the rundown after the fact and he's talked about it all week. You can't sit here and say Kate made a bad trade when that may have been the only thing she had on the table, because Marisol had to agree to go to the den.
Yes.
All these other players had to agree to go to her.
100%.
If she only came out with Ben and Paul and then a first and a second, which are almost like two firsts because it's the first pick of the second round, what can you really say? That's what she had, and she put herself in a position where you were in her position this past Friday when we were on LGR, where she has 4 of the first 14 picks in the draft. You want to know what's beautiful about the draft? You get to pick someone and they can't say no.
Yep. Right.
So
I mean, if my draft said anything, like like that was it's I hated it when I saw people trash the trade. Because in my head, like when you told me like, yo, Marisol got traded to the den and she got Shannon's first 2 picks. It's like, oh, word, like because I know last week we were talking about you were like, she should get the first 2 of this year and the first 2 of next year. Which I'm like, like that, like it sounded like a lot, which I mean, you were half right. Like the first 2 picks of this year, I'm making it 4 of the top 14 picks. Those are some quality picks. And honestly, if we're being honest, I didn't know how deep the draft pool would go until we did a little mock one with our friends at LGR.
Yeah.
Like it's awfully deep. And if the draft, like say what we did at LGR this past Friday was how the Shimoda panned out. It's how the draft's gonna pan out. Like Kate can have a kick-ass team. I love the team I drafted for the Den. I really did. And it's deep, and there's a butt ton of great gameplay already with a ton of potential going forward, and like Kate can really do some damage in this draft. Just with those top 3 picks in the first 9, she's gonna do some damage, 100%.
And you have to sit here and ask yourself, what if Shannon's plan backfires?
That too.
Because she's put herself in a position where she's going to have to rely on relative unknowns, rookies, or players that have had a spotty history in the Schmodown.
Because I forget when Shannon's first pick is
24th overall, the 24th and the 26th.
My God. Okay, so that's the best 23 players off the board before you pick your 5th, and that's the toughie, right? And she wanted Marisol that bad, and she got her. Shannon got what she wanted. Like before people start trashing the trade even more so than they already are, Shannon and Kate got what they wanted. Kate didn't have the best luck in free agency. Okay, go to this awfully deep draft where you can get someone like a Video Drew in the 4th round, in the 3rd or 4th round. Isn't that crazy? That's how low she fell for us. And like that's a kick-ass pick in the round that low. You know what I mean? So I think Kate did the best that she could, as you mentioned, and Shannon got what she wanted. How can you trash the trade? People are going to complain and say like, yo, corruption, they're screwed until they get to 24. Like, I love corruption. I really do. But that's a kick-ass foursome to begin a faction, regardless of who fills it out. Like we also can't forget that as well.
They just have to hope. Here, I guess here's people's issue with corruption. We're going based off of 4 total games with Marisol. We
100%,
don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know who she's going to play in the beginning of the season, and depending on who she plays, if she loses, and this is just the nature of the Schmodown, we won't see her for a while.
Yeah, and that's how Christian designed the league, and we'll see what happens.
And that's the same question you have to come up to with Mike. Is Mike gonna be the Mike that we saw in the Intergeekdom tournament last year in singles? But playing singles, or is he going to be that Mike we saw against Perry Nemiroff, who just he couldn't pull anything?
He was on the losing end of upset of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's another great point with corruption, because corruption, a lot of the talking points of last season, and coming from you last season when we were doing this show, or even a couple weeks ago, is that they were top heavy, right? And you, of course, you can just repeat if the season goes like copy paste from 7 to 8, then the corruption's going to be fine because Shannon will do well in the draft and whenever the free agency picks up, because Shannon's no slouch, and I think she will still have a decent draft regardless. It's just who is going to be available come the 24th pick, come that 26th pick, to where you can still make a splash. And from looking at the faction as it stands at the moment, you lack Star Wars, one of the most important divisions going into this season because of how many.
And
that's the one hole that they have is Star Wars. And granted, there's a wealth of Star Wars players. We just had one of them on. So you can definitely pick up a Star Wars player with the 24th pick. There will be some there, 100%.
But are they going to be anywhere near what you're used to, or anywhere? Is it? You may have traded yourself out of a Thomas Harper, a Marie, a Zach Burkett, even possibly a Joseph Scrimshaw. Oh, Laura Kelly's probably going to be gone because
Laura will be gone in the top 2 rounds for sure. Probably first round.
The first 2 rounds, I don't think people are ready to hear this, but it's probably true. The first 2 rounds are going to be Star Wars heavy.
Can you pull up the factions again? Because I'm pretty sure you might be right. Like there's a lack of Star Wars just there already.
Andrew Paul
Star Wars on this thing.
No Star Wars player.
Damon and that's it.
Damon's it.
That's what I'm talking about. There's already a noticeable lack of Star Wars. You already know, like the talk of the town, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but the talk of the town is Dimolanta going first, going to the dungeon. Like there's already some speculation and some talk about what Star Wars players are going in the first round, and not how many, who, because you already know a ton of them will go in the first 2. So I don't want to say you're picking from the bottom of the barrel, but you're picking from the players who haven't gotten that much hype, who haven't gotten that much notoriety, all that much love in this after show space, or even if these managers are hitting people up, like Harper won't be there, Marie E. Wilson won't be there, Kelly won't be there, Damon won't be there, Melanta won't be there, Burkett won't be there. So like there's gonna be a lot of Star Wars players taken off the board, but at the same time, as we were talking about with Evan, there are a lot of Star Wars players in general. Like there's a ton in the draft pool, and who the hell knows? I guarantee there are players that have been on no after shows, who have done 0 interviews, that absolutely rule at movie trivia, and we just don't know who they are. And their names are there. Like we see their name, we're like, who's that? And then they're going to be changing by the end of the year. There are going to be people like that, like Adam Collins. Adam Collins is the spearhead of that movement of not knowing who somebody is and ending a season with the belt, or having a lot of success throughout the season. So I guarantee there will be people that are lower in the draft, talking like 6th, 7th, 8th round, and then bam, like they make a splash off of that. So who the hell knows? Shannon may luck out. She may do her homework. She may get the players she wants, knowing her draft position. But we won't find that out until Friday.
Yeah, and it's gonna be hard. She's
It will be hard.
really putting all of her eggs in one basket and hoping she hits somewhere on Star Wars. Something I do want to take notice of is I've been paying attention on Twitter and has seemed to be watching a lot more Star Wars as of late. So just want to bring that up. But let's talk about one of these other two surprises. Let's start off with one of the things stock exchange. JTE. Jate, as some call him.
Little evil, Bubba. Like, holy hell. Josh, what? Like, whoa. Talk about, like, I know there were the rumors, speculations for the other name and the suspects that we'll probably chat about in a second. But I don't know about you. I saw zero anticipation of JTE going top 24.
Yeah.
Nope, none.
So post match on LGR, you were still there for that portion of LGR, or maybe because Craig came and joined the stream for a little bit.
Yeah, I was there.
He mentioned that there were teams talking about taking JTE first round.
Which, I mean, we don't know why JTE why he didn't play too much in season 7. We do know that his only appearance was at the free-for-all at the end of the year. So the fact that JTE is coming back and we're getting Little Evil again with Finstock, he's had an awfully successful run, a notable run, a history-making run with Finstock as his manager. And now he's going with the faction that's headed up by John Roca and the Barbarian. Yeah. I think people were just surprised, and JT's been away for too long, or for a long time, and he may not be the JT of before. But the promo that he cut with Christian at the free agency special, it made me think, like, that may not be the worst thing in the world. Granted, was it the smartest strategically to pick up JTE instead of like a Dimolanta or anybody else, right? Maybe not, but
and here's the thing.
You can set other factions too.
Craig also kind of hinted at where the Finstock Exchange may be going with their first overall pick. A player to team up JTE with, which a lot of people thought when JTE was drafted that JTE is going to team up with Roca. I guess that's not the case. We're going to get Roca and Craig, which totally does make sense.
Yes. Roca Barbarian makes all the sense in the world. Now, whether JTE does get a tag team partner in the
first round,
oh my god, yeah, whether they get the first round or they use their first round pick for a tag team partner, sure. But is that them realizing that Inner Geekdom in Star Wars is awfully deep? That they are able to pick up a player in the second round that could fit that gap. Granted, they have IG player in Craig, but that Star Wars gap is it's pretty big, especially going into season 8. And we just got to talk about it with Corruption. Same thing can be said for a Swag. Same thing can be said for the Suspects. We'll get to the Suspects in a second. Same thing can be said for like a few other factions that lack Star Wars. And it's going to be an awfully crucial division going into this season. And is a tag team partner for JTE a necessity to them? It may be. But the fact that JTE is back, like he must be back full force if you're going top 24. I mean, I guess it's cool to see him back though.
I guess here's my thing. The reason I could never rock with JTE in top 24 is how damn streaky he is. He'll be like totally hot one season, and then he'll be just completely cold, and you'll see him 3 times for the entire year.
And if that's something that would have happened in 8, then we'll come back on this show in a year's time or in 12 months' time, 10 months' time, and talk about what a bust that was. But I have a feeling under the tutelage of a Barbarian who is a part of this new wave that plays the Schmodown different than people like JTE and John Roca do.
That's what it is.
Exactly.
With the Schmodown.
Like the Barbarian obviously opened up his own Schmodown studying school right next to Ben Bateman's, because both of them view the Schmodown differently than how the game used to be played 5 seasons ago. And it's no like you can't contest it. The Schmonon's different than what it was in season 6, season 5, 4, 3, so on and so forth. So I honestly believe that JTE, we'll see. We will see. I more the talking point for the JTE pickup is what the hell do you do with your first pick in the draft? I know, like you said, tag team partner. They may go Star Wars, which will be a trend in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
Because
We'll see on Friday.
IG, so you have IG covered. You focus on Star Wars or tag team.
Craig's IG. Yeah, 100%. But Star Wars is your gap. And if you want to pick up a tag, I honestly think a tag team partner for JTE will fall into the second round. If like there will be enough quality players going, especially if everyone focuses on Star Wars, there will be enough quality players going into the second and third rounds that will be able to team up with JTE if our mock draft says anything. So, but one person that JTE has beaten before, which I still cannot believe he did, and correct me if I'm wrong, he's beaten a man by the name of Drew McWeeny, right?
Yes, he has.
And Drew McWeeny retired on top. Like he was happy with where he was at. He was succeeding, and then he was with Andrew Guy, and he's like, you know what, I'm stepping away. And everyone's like, whoa, like another above the line member just retiring out of the blue, like that's crazy as hell. And the last month has been, all right, guys, who's coming back of the old crew? Is Clark going to compete again? Is Drew going to come back? And everyone's like, no, like that's not it. And then Jim McQueenie pops up on the damn screen and he says he's going to Sam Levine's faction. Leo Logan in the chat. JTE's last singles match was against Liz Shannon Miller in season 6, where he was TKO'd after every Ridley Scott question in round 2, after missing every Ridley Scott question in round 2. I do remember that. Oh my god! Like season 6, and arguably the game's changed in season 6, JTE. But we'll see how my man's adjusted. But Drew McQueen came back, dude. and he's with Sam, and he's suspect.
A lot of people thought out of everyone, he was the most likely to come back. But it was who brought him back that needs to be talked about. Ben Bateman lured Drew McQueenie out of retirement as, hey, we'll be partners. And that didn't look like a Drew McQueenie playing into a bit. That looked like Drew McQueenie actually like surprised and pissed.
If Drew McQueenie worked, it was bullshitting me. He worked the hell out of me. I was worked a couple times throughout that whole show. The Bateman thing, not so much. Snyder worked the hell out of me. I will say that. Like, that was one of my favorite moments of the whole free agency special. Him talking about the future and Roxy not congratulating him after his win. That worked the hell out of me. I was like, he's going to leave. He's going to the exchange. But McQueenie coming back and alluding to the competitor to begin with, and then just straight up saying his name at the end. Holy hell. He was going to the usual suspects and being on the same faction as your girl, Liz Shannon Miller, and the homie. Like big time. Ethan Irwin.
Liz Shannon Miller leaving Swag wasn't a shock. It was hinted at. It was basically hinted at all off season. Leo Logan in the chat. When I saw McQueenie in the chat, I thought it was only to watch along to the special. Yeah. I mean, I watched that. Excuse me. I normally watch on my TV because it's got the YouTube app, and I don't see the chat. So when I saw,
I didn't see the chat either. I heard about him being in the chat after the fact.
Great.
And I'm like, that's a great tease. Like that, and I bet people had no idea too. So McQueenie was working people from the jump. But LSM going to the suspects, that was highly speculated of. And we had talked about it. We had LSM going to the suspects alongside Ethan Irwin because it just made sense. And that third spot was just And I want to say, we agreed on Canoptic, right?
Yes, yeah. Canoptic. So they're gonna go.
And I will. We may still be correct, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But McQueenie popping up on screen and saying, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm going to the suspects playing with Sam. It's like, that is insanity. Like, McQueenie Miller, Irwin. Although they're all the same divisions, that's still one hell of a three, dude. Like, oh my God. How? Like, to me, the big winners of the night were the Dungeon and the Suspects, because the Suspects are going to have themselves one hell of a geeky draft. I'll tell you that right now. Like, they're going to draft every Star Wars dweeb, every geekdom competitor. That's going to be them, because they're spearheaded by Ethan, they're spearheaded by Alicia Miller, they're spearheaded by Drew McWeeny. And that's if Drew McWeeny comes back at the...
They're going to want to get Drew a partner, because apparently it's basically set in stone that it's LSM and Irwin.
That'd be my preferred team if I had to pick two to team up together, LSM and Ethan. And Drew getting who can be Drew's partner? That's another great question. Who is Suspects material? Because they're setting a culture, they're establishing a culture over there, and all these factions have with these three players. But who's going to be with Drew? Ooh, man. We could talk about that later. But to you, Matt, I'm curious. Besides the Suspects, right? Because they, like, those three players, I think everyone is universally saying they have to go geeky in the draft because of the overlap between divisions. And with the faction we just spoke of, the Dungeon, how they're all about, like, you know, Bateman and Merle, but they have Robert Parker there, so they have to draft Star Wars. But to you, besides those two factions, who won? Who was third, hypothetically, in your opinion? Because the talking points of leaving free agency were the Suspects, were the Dungeon, for obvious reasons. But who else caught your eye? Who do you think? Is there like anything?
Honestly, you got to go with Roxy or Winston, and in this case, I'm going to go Roxy, because he's retaining technically three belts, even though it's really two. She kept her belt holders. The only way I'd be willing to drop one of those players was if Dan Merle told me he was willing to come. Then if I'm Roxy, I'm going top heavy and pulling someone in the draft. Pulling someone Star Wars in the draft.
I low-key wish they didn't have Lana Gree before the bigger names were taken off the board.
Right.
Because I liked the fake outs and stuff, and like I mentioned, like, Snyder worked this shit out of me. So Taylor, did you guys buy that?
Definitely.
Yep, he worked me, dude, and I put it on Twitter. I'm like, yo, like, Jeff Snyder worked. It was like a roller coaster. I didn't know what was going on. The thrill, man. Snyder really got me, and that was, like I mentioned, my favorite moment of the whole evening was Snyder working the shit out of me. But I mean, Roxy picking up two belts, the tag belts and the Star Wars belt. That's one hell of a way to start your season. You got to get technically she touches all four divisions in singles, team, Star Wars, and her geekdom. So Roxy can do whatever the hell she wants in the draft and focus on maybe that second player to Alex's Star Wars, or I don't want to shade our boy, but like a superior in her geekdom. Right. Someone who's more seasoned than Alex and in her geekdom. She can go multiple ways, and she's probably the most set of all the factions because she's the one that touches all four of them. I don't think there's another faction that can say they can do that, where they touch all four factions and they have free range into what they do with their first pick. Because Roxy's first pick, it isn't set in stone.
Well, let's take a look. Like I said, the only faction I could say possibly does that is Corruption. Just like I said, because Chance has kind of been mentioning watching the Star Wars stuff a lot lately on Twitter. That's just me speculating. But other than that, no, there's no one like it, because Chandra's IG, Paul's also IG. They got teams covered. They got singles covered in swag. It's all singles and teams over in the Suspects. It's singles and IG over at the den. It's singles, teams, and IG in the Dungeon. It's singles teams at the Exchange. Like, what can you say? And so, hey, that's very valid.
The stars are in the perfect spot. because she'll shock everybody with her first pick because we don't know what division she's focusing on or what her first pick will be gravitated towards. She has one kick-ass team. Obviously, they're the champions in the Odd Couple, and they're both great singles players too. Snyder has the #1 contenders match to start the season, so you can potentially have 3 belts by March, by freaking April, whatever the hell.
End of March. It would be end of March because I think Christian said that first battleground will be for. That's either going to be Jeff Snyder versus Dan Murrell for the #1 contender, or it is the title shot. One of the two.
So there's going to be a lot of belts over at Stars by the end of the first quarter of the year, and that's super telling. So to me, I 100% agree with you. If it's not the Dungeon coming out on top, obviously with the big shock of Murrell and Bateman, if it's not the Suspects, the big shock of McWeeny, and putting them with 2 of the best players in the Schmoedown right now, in Lishana Miller and Ethan Irwin, then it's the Stars. Like, although it's the same 3 names that everyone expected, no one had Roxy dropping Alex. And if you did, how? He's the champion. So that's one hell of a team to start off a whole new faction that will go into this draft this Friday. All these factions will go into the draft this Friday, and they will do what they got to do. And one last thing before we move on to the draft: does anyone underwhelm you? Any one of these factions were you underwhelmed at how they stayed together or the people they picked up, like all the things that they did that night?
And it pains me to say it, but the exchange, because I'm still not a fan of that JT pickup. I expected if Winston missed out on Ben or Dan, I did expect it to be Juan again. So that didn't bug me. I think me and everybody else called the Quirky Merc staying together. We already knew corruptions. So realistically, I take the Den out of this equation because of what they had to do. They had no choice in the matter. They had to make that deal. So I take the Den out of the equation. I'm left with 7 other teams, 6, because realistically take corruption out of it. And out of those 6, it's the exchange.
I haven't been for Kevin Smith for the Mercs since the rumors were running wild in the beginning of this year, really. So I'm still not rocking with it, and I cannot wait to be proven wrong. If Kevin's out here playing match after match after match, now I'll STFU. But when I don't see that, or if I don't see that, I will come back to this moment and say, like, yo, that could shoot you in the foot. Because now with Coy, like, I totally expected him to pick up someone that's at least inner geekdom. Lee Logan in the chat, Preston staying with Kate was surprising. Yeah.
Yes and no, because I felt if Paul missed out on teaming out with Ben, I thought he was going to go back to the Den because he'd rather control where he goes than take a chance in the draft.
I wanted him to team with Ben so bad. But I mean, it's hard to come second to Dan Murrell, you know? Like, it's not like, I shouldn't say it's hard. Most likely everyone will come second to Dan. Like, that's the harsh reality. And damn, like, I really wanted Paul and Ben though, 100%. What's up, Boggs in the chat? I see you. What's going on, dude? I'm still watching Cobra Kai. I'm still doing that for you, Boggs. You and only you, depending on who you ask. So, yes, thank you, Boggs, for all the love.
But midnight there. Shouldn't you be asleep?
Yeah, go to sleep, Boggs. Have a glass of milk before you go to sleep, or some water. But to me, the most underwhelming, not that it's bad, was Kevin Smith. But I totally understand. I've said this on the show before. I'll say it again. I totally understand why you keep him. Totally. I just think there will be other players that will do more, that will be better in certain divisions than someone like Andrew or someone like Kevin Smith will. But at the same time, Kevin Smith, how can you not pick him up top 24? So I will stand corrected if my man proves me wrong and goes 7-0 to start the season. Like I will come back on the show and with my bowl of flack and I'll eat it. But you mentioned, Matt, that freaking Kate pick or the Kate trade. Like you can't knock her for it because of the position she was put in. And that's a great way to segue us into the draft this Friday. Because the draft, we did a mock draft on Friday. Again, shout out to our friend LJR or LGF for letting us do that. But holy shit, this draft's gonna be deep. It's deep, dude.
Yeah, it's man. Doing that mock draft was really hard. It really was because, like, well, to be fair,
rough.
after those first 2 rounds, halfway through the third round, you kind of ran out of the like talent you can trust.
There were a lot of question marks for sure.
You were more so that third round. You were at that point where you're like, all right, we're at the talent that is streaky. Would I rather go with a rookie here? What do I want to take a shot on a rookie who I have seen some game film and hope to mold them, or do I want to just take a shot and try to get this guy right?
And that makes me it's a great segue for this question I want to ask you. Like you throw me up the slate, I'm gonna go ahead and dunk it. We drafted a ton of rookies that night. All of us did. I believe my last 4 picks were rookies. I just
pulled mine up because I wrote it down. I drafted 1, 2. I drafted 3 rookies that night out of my 7 picks.
Yeah, and I drafted 4, if I remember correctly. So there are going to be. I honestly think there'll be a lot of rookies this year, and I beg the question to you: do you think there'll be a ton of rookies taken this year, or are the rookies going to be like not afterthoughts, but they will not be as prioritized as established talent would be?
I think there will be a lot of rookies taken. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, you didn't take so and so." It's like, look, if I'm a manager and I'm getting those late third, beginning of the fourth, I'm looking at some of the names that are on that board. I might take a shot on a rookie rather than someone we've seen play. And if that person because this was the strategy I went with at least. After I drafted Harper in the second round, my third round pick was Greg Alba. Then I went Diamond Dave, and shockingly, Zach Burkett fell to me in the 5th round. So I went Burkett, and then I went Fouch, and then I picked up another rookie in Sonny. Like I when I got to that 4th round, I decided every other at this point because there wasn't a lot of names I was seeing that I felt I could trust.
The draft choices, and again, shout out to Kate because over at the mock draft that we did, I had the den, and Kate had to just go ahead and run wild right when special ended and threw off my entire game plan. So thanks, Kate. Like it really did, but at the same time, really threw me off because by the time I expected to get my second pick, I thought there would be some players off the board. So now I had to go back to my priorities. And with the first 2 picks, I picked up Brandon Hanna and Eric Zipper. Like what? Like the fact that that's the level of talent that will go in the first round just for someone like Kate in the den. You know what I mean? Like, she can pick up a whole team. She can pick up 2 more than solid Geekdom players who are also teams and singles players as well. That's the quality of talent that will still be in the first round come those 2 corruption picks. And probably another reason to why people are saying corruption shot themselves in the foot. But priorities. Shannon prioritized Marisol. She got what she wanted. Kate now has 4 of the first 14 picks. And she will do some incredible shit. There will be at least, I have a feeling either Zip or Hannah are going to fall to her. I genuinely have a feeling.
Do you think
she'll pick up?
Do you think Hannah would want to be with her? Do you think Hannah would want to play with her? Considering all the drama that happened last year.
I don't think Hannah's going to play with anybody. And honestly, it's so toxic. Why would you do that? But like I'm such a critic of Brandon Hanna for obvious reasons. Oh, but I think the thing with Brandon is that after what the hell just happened to him with Kaiser, like he got like my man got the shaft, and to all credit to him, he may have helped court Ben Bateman, court Dan Murrell. You know what I mean? So why wouldn't you not want someone like Brandon Hanna on your faction? And plus, for as much shit as I give him, he's a really good player. Like we also cannot knock him. His record does not reflect his gameplay because he's 500, and it's the first thing people bring up when they talk about Brandon Hanna. I saw it in the group chat or in the live chat that night. Like, Hanna's a 500 player. That doesn't reflect your quality. Like, and I think Hanna will go first round. I'll be surprised if he falls into the second. I honestly will. And if at that point, if he does, Kate, pick him up with that corruption, the first, second round pick. Honestly, I don't think he will. That's the thing. So Kate having those 4 picks, that will be her team. That front 6 is really going to be who she's rocking with going forward. Box in the chat. Going into the draft, boys, if you could only pick one player in singles, IG, and Star Wars, who would you pick?
One player
from the rookies.
From each, or just one overall? From each or one overall?
I'm assuming he means each. Like you get a singles, you get maybe a singles and a teams. Look, that could be like the same person, and then a geek and a Star Wars.
So I'll gladly go first.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Star Wars. I'm taking Thomas Harper.
It's hard to not take him. A lot of hype behind him.
Singles. I know this is going to sound like being a homer, but it's really not because I know how much work he's putting in. It's the Rager.
Ooh, take Rick Rallis.
And as much as I love my guy Jesse Swift, I'm gonna have to go Amaru Moses for IG.
I'm shitty because you took. I was gonna say Amaru for Inner Geekdom, but just to be different. Okay. Say I'm drafted and those 3 players are off the board, and I had to pick a rookie from those. Star Wars, Marie E. Wilson. I love talking to her when we got to last week, and she made such a huge impression on me. She made me a fan of hers, and what sold me was she wants a challenge. She wants a challenge, and boy, she's gonna get it. She will get a challenge in the Schmodown. When she competes, I'll be first in line in that live chat, waiting to say what's up. Singles, oh god. Singles, you picked Rick Radis. Holy hell. Okay, I'll do him first. Since you won't pick Jesse, I will, because like when I chose Jesse at our mock draft this past Friday, and when we got to talk to him, like he's a sponge, or at least that's what he's pitching himself as.
He's got this personality to him. I love talking to him.
He has his charisma, and I think if he's under the tutelage of someone like a Chandru, someone like a Hannah, someone like a Zipper, I think he can do some great stuff. So if I have a top tier IG player leading part of the lead of my faction, I'm picking up somebody like Jesse Swift. And Marie E. Wilson, she's already proven that she can beat Damon. It wouldn't hurt to pair her up with someone like a Laura Kelly if they have the opportunity to do so. Those 2 women will probably be they can be a spearhead of the Star Wars division by the end of the season. Molly Damon as well. I'll throw the 3 of them in there together. But singles, damn, I don't want to say because I don't want to brag, but I did pick Rick Radis in our mock draft. Damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna say. Damn it. See, this one's hard because singles and teams, they overlap a lot. They will overlap, and out of the rookies, I'm gonna. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna pick someone who wasn't even mentioned during our mock draft, which I was super surprised by. Because if I would have remembered that it was that we were ending with X amount of rounds, I would have picked them up. Paul Walter Hauser. There's been a ton of hype behind PWH. Christian loves this man, and I
haven't really heard anything about him. Period, since he got announced, honestly.
But he will get picked up. I will be shocked. Talk about shocked. I will be flabbergasted if PWH doesn't get picked up. Truly. That the Family League 4, they're going to be. They all want to be in the same faction, but I know there's going to be a lot of hype behind them. Like the celebrity picks. I know I'm rooting for some personally, like Chris Van Vliet or Josh Horowitz. I'm definitely rooting for them. The celebrity people, and I use that word loosely because they're coming in as competitors, and we should treat them as such. But PWH, I will pick Jesse Swift and Marie E. Wilson. And Marie E. Wilson, like, people keep talking about Thomas Harper, as they should, because he's coming in like a ball of fire. But let's not forget Marie. We should, and I don't know where she'll fall in the draft, but I think if she's anything less than second round, I'll be like, wow.
I think we had because Zach fell on the 5th in ours, and I was like, the hell?
Mm-hmm. Marie
a Dragon Con player fell to the 5th?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was. I forget the Star Wars players I picked up. I think I did Laura and Sean Sullivan. That's another one. Yeah. Sean Sullivan, he's gonna come in like a ball of fire too. I have a feeling Sean's gonna make some moves in Star Wars this year. And if you at least need 2 Star Wars competitors. So if you have a vet like Laura and if you have a rook like Marie, holy shit! I don't even want to think about the things they can do together in regards to the Star Wars division. And like, I know we talked about this on other shows where like there won't be too much in-faction fighting or in-faction competitions, but there could be people waiting in line for a while. There could be, because of how good they are within the same faction. But that's a great question, Block. I'm glad you asked. So it's gonna be rough though, and singles is the most like unproven, because like I mean, you can just say you like movies, or like, you're really good at movie trivia. There are some people that are unfamiliar with the Schmodown and how it works. There are some newer faces, some people who haven't even competed, some people who recently became fans, and that's going to be one hell of some testing grounds for rookies. It's especially in singles and teams, because in our Geekdom and Star Wars, there's a level you have to meet. There's a level that's required of you to compete. Like teams and singles, obviously there's those levels because of the champions, but everyone has to start from somewhere. And I feel like it's easier to jump into a division like singles than it is to enter Geekdom or Star Wars. And if you disagree, by all means. But I think it's easier to jump into singles and teams than enter Geekdom and Star Wars as they stand.
No, I agree with you, because teams you can slowly work in there. You're going to have more people's brains to pick and studying habit.
Sure.
IG and Star Wars are going to be cutthroat.
Mm-hmm.
Cutthroat.
And I didn't want to say this with Evan earlier, but he was making it sound easier than how I was making it sound. I'm like, man, but you know this stuff like the back of your hand. Like someone like me, if I want to take the Ben Bateman approach, give me 60 days. It's like, wait a second, that won't even cut it. At this point, you got to go 60 years with Star Wars.
I was about to say, you watch the Star Wars match with me. You know how much Star Wars I know, and I was like,
it's rough. Yeah, like it could be rough even for, and that's what I was telling Evan. You can't just like Star Wars anymore and compete in the Star Wars division. I will always point this out because it hurt my face. But Bruce Green, from Funhouse when he was at Funhouse at the time, when he showed up and played Alex Damon for the vacant Star Wars belt at Collider Collision, he got stomped. But he
wasn't even fun
loves
to
Star
watch.
Wars.
It was
But he
not even
loves
fun
Star
to watch.
Wars, right? And that's my thing. Like, he loves Star Wars. He loves the franchise, but he didn't live it the way someone like Alex does, the way someone like insert Star Wars competitor here does. You know, like Star Wars has to hit different for you for you to compete in the division. And Bruce Green, unfortunately, is Exhibit A. For as much as I love Bruce. So this draft this weekend will be super interesting. It's going to be one hell of a way to I mean, we're going to figure out the teams this weekend. And I'm super stoked to find out who's going where. And before we wrap, Matt, who's going first?
I thought we could go draft another like 10, 15 minutes.
Well, we can go. Like, I didn't know, but like, just as pointed out, like, who's going first?
If you're going with the most multifaceted player, you go Brandon Hanna. If you're going if you're going best shot at points wise, right off the bat, you're going either Molly Damon, Laura Kelly, or Mara Konopik.
Mm-hmm.
And they also take care of either your Star Wars, because we're talking about Kaiser specifically. And they also either take care of your Star Wars or IG thing. I don't think it's Mara, because I think we've known for a while that, because they've talked about it enough, Dan and Mara want to keep their Schmodown career separate from each other.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's still that chance Danton's going into IG this year.
Totally. He did say he was going to play IG this year. He said that at the agency special.
I forgot all about Dimolanta.
I was about to say, how the hell did you not say Dimolanta? How is it not Andrew Dimolanta? Riddle me that, Batman. How is it not Dimolanta?
Because I don't think Kaiser values the Star Wars division as much as he does the IG.
Ooh, that was one hell of a statement. So you think he's going to repeat the mistake he made last draft?
I think he might be. I think he might, because Kaiser seems like a loyal guy, and I think he believes he can get Adam Witt later, because Adam Witt's played well in both of his Star Wars matches.
Yep.
He's just been on the shorter end of the stick. That's it.
He'll take Adam Witt. Like, as I don't want this to sound like shade, but he'll be available later in Dungeon. But I will be shocked if Andrew Dimolanta does not go first. Not only because the Dungeon lacks a Star Wars competitor at the moment, not only because Andrew Dimolanta is one of the best Star Wars competitors, and he's been gnawing at the bit to get to Alex Damon. Not only because Andrew Dimolanta gives off that heelish persona that I think everyone in the dungeon should do. That, yes, that includes you, Dan. But because my man has a Star Wars title match potentially coming up soon in the next 5 weeks. So, like, this, I think we should also keep that in mind, because you're talking about points, right, with Mara.
Yeah.
Mara has a title shot off the bat. Technically, so does Dimolanta. It's just how many people are going to be in that match. That's the question. And as Christian pointed out in the points layout, more people in match means more points. So Dimolanta, hypothetically, if he does face off against the champ Damon and also number one contender Damon, you know what I mean? Or Kelly.
But there's here's the thing. There's also more loss if you lose that multi-people match. That's the thing. So I don't think Damon would do that.
Okay, but still, so either way, Dimolanta gets a title match.
Right.
Or he's going to play the winner of that in the number one contender match, and odds are, in how I think is going to pan out, Dimolanta will advance to play Damon. That's already some points on the board for some wins, and he potentially get a belt. I would be. I don't think it's Mara. I think Mara will fall second to the suspects, because it's crazy how the two teams coming out of free agency who've had the best or have the most talked about top three have the top two picks in the draft. I think Mara will fall to the suspects. She will play with Liz Shannon Miller, Ethan Irwin, and Drew McWeeny, headed up by Sam Levine. That's one hell of a team, dude, off the bat. I don't think it'll be Laura because if I had to power rank it, if I was like David Sackrider or Frankie Numbers and I had my draft board, I would put Demolanta before any of the Star Wars competitors that we have right now available, in my opinion. So there's a need for Star Wars at the dungeon. That said Star Wars player has matches for sure to start the season, potentially a championship match, and I think he fits the bill. I think it's hard not to pick Andrew Demolanta. I'm not saying Demolanta was going to go first regardless, but I think it just fits the bill the most out of everyone that the dungeon can use.
I just don't think, because I'll talk to you a little. I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts after the show, post show with you, because just
sure,
yeah.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I don't think it's going to be Demolanta. I'll just leave it at that.
So you think it's going to be? You said Hannah. That was the first thing you mentioned. You think Brandon's going to go first?
I think he's got a shot at going first.
I wouldn't be surprised if I said that Hannah has been a potential number one pick for weeks now.
Yeah.
Like for as much flack as I give him, on this show or in other things, he's one of the better players that's still available right now. So he has to keep that in mind. Or he's arguably top 30. He'll be picked in the first round. Yes, Brandon, you will be a first round pick. So where though? Like if you send Brandon to the dungeon, you're doubling up on an geekdom off the bat, and you have another singles teams player that you have to potentially pair him up with another person later. And Star Wars, you start taking those names off the board. Demolanta, Kelly, as you mentioned, like you think Harper's going to go super early, like many people, myself included. Then like those players will be off the board by the time you get your next pick. Because we also have to keep in mind the snake draft will play a huge part into how this will play out going forward in the draft. So I'm just like,
if you want to, and that still bugs me, and you want to treat it like a sport, you do a normal draft. It's
1 to 8, 1 to 8, 1 to 8.
1 to 8. Yeah, that because the point of the draft is for the worst team to get better.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
Granted, I can see why he does it this way, because it's not a keeper league. You get 3 keepers, and then everybody's back in the draft. But still, it just. Granted,
if those top 3 players in free agency weren't taken, like we went into the draft as is, I would 100% back you on the snake draft thing. I don't mind it. I'm not about to sit here and defend it, but I don't mind it.
Seeing how everything played out, I don't mind it as much, because think about this: if it was 1 through 8, 1 through 8, 1 through 8, you would have Bateman, Merle, Parker. They have the number 1 pick. 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 But granted, that also at the same time that gives a team like that room for trades. We'll move back, pick up some lower quality pieces, and I guess because I'm a guy, because you could, if you play video games with myself or Nick Milbach and you do a 2K season, or Madden season, we are the people who we will trade back, we will trade off, we will trade future picks, because we feel comfortable with where our team was at.
And again, I totally understand. Like I'm like my boy, I'm sure we're seeing eye to eye, if you know what I mean. So if there wasn't the top 3 protected or the free agency period, yes, do regular draft. It only makes the most sense. But the fact that we had the top 3, and even with someone like Kate, right? Imagine how different that trade is. Because Corruption has the last pick in every round in that hypothetical. So shit, if I'm Kate, I'm taking 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like you want Marisol that bad? Give me half your draft. Like that's like, you know what I mean? So
and see, that I feel like if you did it a regular way, you get more chance of backstopping, because like So yeah, she just traded for Marisol, but now she'll flip Marisol for what she feels maybe somebody offers her a mid first for Marisol in that case. Then she ends up flipping Marisol, and that builds a storyline of, oh yeah, I traded for you, but that was just so I can get a more valuable pick and move on.
So the how they do the draft, like, doesn't really mind me. I totally see your POV though. Like, it's not like it's just it's weird, and I wonder if they'll keep doing this going forward. If they'll keep doing the snake draft layout. So maybe they'll change. Smart changes every year in some facet. It changes. So but now we're getting a rule book. Hopefully soon. I want to check that boy out when we get there. God. I stand by my choice of Demolanto going first. Like, if I'm John Kaiser and I have Ben Bateman, Dan Murrell, Robert Parker, I think Demolanto is the perfect forward to round that out, and then you just move forward with how you want to go. And I know you're missing out on Brandon Hanna after those incredible little like cut scenes they were doing on the Facebook and on social medias. They were super entertaining, but Hanna. How I think of it, sans trades are still totally feasible. They could totally happen that night still. I am anticipating Hanna going elsewhere. Whether he's cool with it, sorry, dude. That's what happens when you fall into the draft. You have no choice. Like, if I was in this draft and it's like, I want to go I want to go to Corruption, and Corruption loses their first 2 picks, and they don't pick till 24. And I am a Hanna quality player, I'm not going to Corruption. You know what I mean? So that's a hard pill to swallow, but I think he'll be fine. He'll find success elsewhere. The question with Hanna is, is his faction going to pick up Sabrina as well, so they can continue what they tease at Spectacular?
Think so whatsoever. Like I told you, I'm like, that was the most pointless video we had in that entire thing, because the likelihood of making that happen ain't high.
And that was if Brandon was top 24. I still think he is. So, like, the fact that he fell into the draft, it's like, whoa, like, that's wow. That's just a credit to how stacked this draft is. But now you're leaving your power couple thing up to chance. Like, you're leaving it up to chance, and if your faction would like to draft your significant other, because, again, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, Brandon Hanna is a better player than Sabrina Ramirez, so Brandon will go first, leaps and bounds before Sabrina does.
Well, let's not say better. Let's say more valuable, because he plays across 3 divisions. More valuable. Let's go with more valuable.
Sure. Okay. So he is more valuable than Sabrina. So there's going to be a few rounds between them if they do get picked up by the same faction, but that's if they do, and I don't think they will. And I don't want to say the cutscene was pointless from Spectacular, but it will be underwhelming in hindsight. We will look back at Spectacular. It's like, but you guys didn't get picked up on the same faction. Presumably, anything's possible. Anything is possible. So this draft, though, things I'm looking forward to, if I can say that real fast.
Go ahead.
I want to see, obviously, Corruption. Like, if y'all watch this show, I'm a big Corruption stan. I want to see how Corruption does. They start at 24. Who's 24? You know, like, there's a lot of great talent in this schmodown, in this draft. Who's 24th in regards to who's left? That's going to be up to chance. Well, it'd be up to Shannon, but you know what I mean. How Swag plays out. Winston had a kick-ass draft last year. Like, he did a great job with his draft picks, and obviously he did a great job with his faction. So, like, has Swag changed internally, and will that change going forward? Will we see a similar style of draft picking? We'll see. This 1 year proved a lot to all these factions. Obviously, Kate. I am so fascinated by the Den. I am so fascinated. Again, like, alongside my Dungeon t-shirt and my Skybound cart, like my Corruption t-shirt, which Boggs has to crowdfund. I did not forget that, Boggs. And like the Den t-shirt there is right there too. Like, I want to see what happens. If my draft from the mock draft happens, I think that's one hell of a faction. So I stand. Go ahead.
Talking about shirts, I know I can tell you right now, the two I know I'm for sure getting are Swag and the Exchange, because I'm always going to be a Winston fan. I'm always going to be a Bobby Gucci fan. But do I have to order more than those two? We'll find out if and when a certain rookie is taken this upcoming Friday.
Yeah, and we'll see. And there's I know like we're big stands over here of certain folks, and but we're fans. Like we're a fan after show. What do you expect, people? So corruption, Swag, really any of the other factions that who kept the same players. That's what I'm curious on how the culture changes within them. The Den is awfully interesting because of the first 4 picks in the top 14. And my God, I want to be shocked. I want to be shocked. I want this to feel like the NBA draft, like the NFL draft, like, dare I say it, the WWE draft. I want to be surprised. I want to be worked. I want them to bring the production value with this, because this is so uncertain with the computer and the stream yards and the stuff, because we hear the ping when we watch some shows. So I want to see how they do that. The production value also has my eye. So this draft will be a lot of fun to watch, and of course I'll be looking out for where a certain rookie goes. Hopefully where they go is already in my cart. That's all.
Yeah,
that's
what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I do pose this question: what longtime competitor do you think is poised for the longest fall in the draft?
Holy shit! Are you talking like an OG? Just
they've played in the Schmodown for at least 2 seasons, or a season and a half or more.
Oh yeah. The steepest fall from where they were to where they're going to end up in draft.
Just someone you'd expect to go higher than they would, that we know as fans already.
This kind of happened with us, and it's the first thing that popped into my brain. So I will say that. But someone that fell super low in our draft. You're shocked at Zach. I was shocked that this person went as low as they did, and that's Perry Nemiroff. If Perry is,
because she had a strong outing.
Singles and teams. Like I thought that after being away from the game for years, she came back like nothing had changed. And I think she will go lower in the draft. And again, it's a testament to how strong this draft class is of 2021. But it might be Perry, dude. Not because she's not good, but it's a testament to how strong this draft class is. That someone like Perry Nemiroff may fall to like a 4th round. I don't want to say 5th, but you know what I mean. Like the middle of the pack. And that's a gem. That's a diamond in the rough. Perry Nemiroff. That's the first thing that popped into my brain. That's a good question, though. You know, another name that popped into my brain, he won't go super low. Hell no, he won't. But someone who I'm curious and where their career is going to go is a real OG. It's Mark Riley. Yeah. Because I'm not going to lie to you, I was shook. I forgot who picked him in our mock draft. I was
in the first round.
I was shocked. And I'm not about to diss Mark Riley, because I have no ill will towards Mark. I think Mark's a great player. But holy hell, I think there are other players I would take ahead of him. I'm sorry. And when Suge took Mark in the first round, I thought to myself, oh my God, this is what we're doing today. Like this is what's going on tonight. And I think Mark will fall lower than some people expect. But he won't go too far. He'll probably be like 2nd round, 3rd round, high 3rd round at the latest. I don't think Mark goes 1st round. I really don't think so.
No, I think he's going 2nd. I don't think he's going 1st.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's one of those things. You're just like, are we sure?
Yeah, and like I don't want this to turn into like, let's shit on Mark Riley for 20 minutes. Like it's really, oh my God, like my man just got buried by 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 Ben Bateman, and maybe he goes to the suspects later in the draft. But I think the suspects not only can team him up with Drew, and they can go on the Ben Bateman revenge tour. That'd be cool. But also the suspects have other priorities before singles and teams players. Unless Mark plans on doing Star Wars, then that throws off the whole game. So that's how I'm leaning. Singles and teams players, there's a great wealth of them, and the geekier players will go first. The geeky divisions will go first, in my opinion. And Mark Riley will fall to the second round, early third at the latest, and it will also be a steal in regards to vets coming back or playing in past seasons and not being highly touted as they should be, in my opinion. Those are the two names I kept going back and forth on, Riley and Perry.
For me,
they end up being on the same faction.
Yeah. For me, I think we're going to see Rachel Silvestrini have a swift fall.
Yeah.
You look at some of these mock drafts and draft boards, and her and the other one I'm going to say, Stacey Howard. They both have a ton of rookies listed ahead of them. Like, just sitting there like, whoa. Like, if I remember correctly, even Frank has Brother Lomas listed above both of them.
Yeah, and Lomas is someone who's been keeping quiet in the after show space. But one quick shout out to Corey Cameron in the chat. What's going on, dude? Glad you can join us. What's going on, Corey? Stacey Howard and Rachel Silvestrini. I think Rachel will be picked before Stacey, but I do agree with the idea that they'll both fall lower than expected.
You think that Rachel will get picked up before Stacey? I think we've seen Stacey's more. I think we've seen that Stacey's more reliable than Rachel, though. That's the thing.
Does Stacey play more though? Who plays?
They play about the same. They play about Stacey's had way more matches. That's for sure.
I'm talking about last season. Who played more last season, Rachel or Stacey?
It was about. I think
because if I'm not mistaken, Stacey opted not to do the singles tournament.
Yeah, because she wasn't sure about the digital format. She had, because of COVID, she had a ton of stuff going on in her personal life, and she has said
totally.
That. And then she saw the single format could work.
And if Stacey plays the same amount of matches as Rachel, then I stand corrected. I will change my mind. But as of right now, as we sit, I think Rachel will go first. I'm not saying Rachel's a better player, but I think Rachel will go first over Stacey. But those are two other names that.
So there are seven rookies in singles who Frank has rated before Stacey Howard.
Woo.
And there are 8 rookies in singles that Frank has rated before Rachel Silvestrini.
Wow.
Stacey is ranked at 45. Rachel is ranked at 50.
Wow. I mean, they're both going to get picked up because, I mean, if Frank's draft board says anything, there's like 70-some picks in the draft. They're both will get picked up perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Presumably. But I'm so glad you mentioned his name because I'd be remiss if we ended this show previewing the draft, or recapping free agency and looking forward to season 8 because we're both so stoked. Brother Lomas, dude, or Loomis, people are conflicted on the name. So we have not seen him anywhere besides Facebook. If you're not in the Facebook group, you have no idea what this man's capable of. Like, we've seen him in the Facebook group, and that is it. He hasn't been on any after shows, and the draft is this Friday, but he'll still get picked up based off of character alone. Like, we have no idea what he's like as a character besides the Facebook videos, besides the comments. But he'll go early by rookie standards. Singles rookie standards.
I will say this. My biggest hang up about drafting Lomas is there's no film on him, period. I could go find Peggy film. I can go find Jacoby Bancroft film.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype behind them as well. And I
am the only right now. I am the person who is guarding the Rick Radis film.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know why you'd have Rick Radis' film. But what I'm saying is the stuff with Lomas, I'm curious to see where he'd go to. Where do you think someone like Brother Lomas would fit?
Realistically, the Den replacing Tom. That's about it. Here's my thing. So about a week or so ago on SEN Live, Christian mentioned how he was talking to a manager and they let him know that a rookie didn't do as hot as trivia, and that he's like, well, they don't get drafted. They don't get drafted.
It hurt their stock. That's what you're saying.
Hurt their stock with one manager at least. I don't know because you know all these managers who they've talked to have probably asked them different questions and some probably vary in difficulty.
Totally.
So when you hear that, you wonder which rookie it is. Corey Cameron says the Finstock exchange. I could see that. Finstock loves characters. So does the Dungeon.
I would like. I mean, seeing. I see your Den. I'll raise you a. This might sound outlandish. I'll raise you the Mercs, and let me tell you why. Because of Koi Jandro and Koi Jandro alone.
Like, I don't think if it wasn't for the fact he was more of a heel persona, he's giving off a heel persona, I'd agree with you.
Total. And I mean, not every single faction is going to have every single player align with what allegiance the manager is, babyface or heel. It's going to be hard to do that shit. We see that with Swag.
But Swag's like a tweener faction themselves.
I don't want. Like Winston's a face.
Paul still borders on heel. Chandru's definitely a heel.
We saw what heel Paulo Yama looks like, and Paulo Yama that we saw to end the season was definitely not that.
I'm just talking about with the remarks that he's
sure. Anyone can talk shit. Yeah, anyone can talk shit. That doesn't make him a heel. But I say Koi because Koi, you saw Koi's promos this past year. The things that Koi's just such a creative mind. I think he would not only would Lomas benefit from being under the tutelage of the kid and William Bibiani, but I mean, I think Koi would do a good job of wrangling Brother Lomas and really playing into the mystique of the character. Like I'm not saying he should become Paul Bearer, but he should become. Like he could definitely. He could just feed into what Brother Lomas is exuding.
If I'm gonna be completely honest, there are two rookies that have been set up to have either the biggest rise or the biggest fall. And those rookies are Brother Lomas and our boy Rick Radis.
1,000%.
They were the only two rookies that were fan auditions to get announced in that first major drop. That had the bells and whistles, the nice posters.
They got the Christian Harloff seal of approval off the bat. And both of them, there's some big shoes to fill. There's a lot of expectation, a lot of hype. We've seen it when we had Rick Radis on our show. Yeah, well, we had Rick Radis on our show, and people were like, yo, like, if this man loses his first match, like, that's going to be telling. So that's how it is for Lomas, for Radis, for any of these rookies that are being elevated on a platform. And we haven't seen too many of them since Lomas and Radis, if at all. Like people who have been elevating themselves have been elevating themselves, whether it's the Family League 4 going on after shows or really promoting themselves elsewhere. Jesse Swift, David Campbell, we just saw our boy Evan Bushkar. Like these people are taking the extra step that don't have the Christian seal of approval. Like they may not have the they may not have the as big of shoes to fill as someone like a Radis, as someone like a Lomas. And we'll see how they play. That's the craziest part, is that I have no doubt in my mind Radis and Lomas will go. No doubt in my mind they will be drafted. How they play, though, will be the biggest challenge. Because we've seen fans turn on competitors just by taking a loss. It doesn't matter what kind of L it was, if it was a close L, a big L, a little L. it was a loss nonetheless. And if you are hyped up in any type of fashion and you lose, just take it to wrestling for a second. If WWE or AEW or any other wrestling promotion plays vignettes teasing this big personality, this monster, this wrestler's gonna come in and tear up the scene, and they come out for the first match and lose,
Yeah,
that sets up. That's not good for you. I'm not saying they're gonna freaking like fail, but that's you got to play the game, and the Schmodown ain't nothing to play with. It really ain't.
right.
And those two guys have the biggest, like you mentioned, the biggest chips on their shoulders. And holy hell, I'm looking forward to where they go, and to where all the rookies go. I think the back half of the draft would be rookie heavy. I think so.
I do also. It lends itself to that. Let's just be honest. That's the vibe that we're getting from this entire process. So,
and there are going to be some vets that we see before we do that. There are going to be some vets that we see, that we've seen in other seasons that won't get picked up this year, guys. And it's going to be a bummer.
They still might get picked up. We just won't see it at the portion of the draft that's televised.
Well, I mean, even then, even the two rounds aren't televised, or even the halfway through the season drops and or releases and pickups, there will not be some lovable names that will play this year, and that's okay. It's a hard pill to swallow. Like I saw someone in the Facebook group be bummed that Scott Mance isn't playing this year. Like I'm bummed too. I love Scott Mance. I love the energy he brought. The cocaine donkey. I love that man. But like he's not playing this year. Tom, there's something feels missing when I'm talking about Tom. You know. So like we mentioned Tom's name once before this little spiel I'm on. So there will be some vets this year that don't get picked up, and that's all right. Season 9's, I mean, it feels like it's around the corner at this point. But this draft will be freaking nuts, and we cannot wait to talk about it on Monday.
Yes. We are moving the show to Monday. Time, it's going to be 1 or 2 times. That's going to be figured out. Look out for a tweet.
Twitter. Follow us on Twitter.
Follow me, follow Chris, follow the official Spin from the Real Twitter. Follow those 3. Look out for a tweet from either the official Spin from the Real Twitter or us about time going forward. Because we got to figure some stuff out first. Because we don't want to. Well, you'll understand why.
Follow us on Twitter. And quick thing, Corey, James White and Jada Paramo.
Jada, I got it. It's a 4th or a 5th.
I think they will both fall 4th or 5th. But Jada will be picked up before James.
Yep, agreed.
1,000%.
But with that, folks, that's our show. Remember, spin from the reel, not the peg. See you Monday.
Bye. Follow on Twitter.